application using external packages in Flutter. So it would be about, how you can import packages and use them in your Flutter application, and how to like go through the code, how to check out what are all the features available. We'll do that first. Then second, we would see how to work with APIs. We'll use some open API and try to use it in our Flutter application. And then lastly, we would work with UI first, because user interface is one of the strongest point in Flutter. So we'll try to see like how to take your design and try to convert it into a Flutter UI. And after that, we'll also talk about backend that you can use with your Flutter application. Why? Because UI is not my strong point, as in I am a backend developer, so I work with backends mainly. But we'll try to go through the UI side, and then we'll come back to backend. Uh, and lastly, we would talk about internships. It would be something, a general talk at the end, as in how to build up your profile as a Flutter developer, and how to get your first internship, or how to monetize on this skill for that matter. So I'll try to share my experience, like how I first started out, and then we can have it as a discussion. But for now, what I'll do is I'll turn off my camera, because I cannot simultaneously show video and run Android Studio. It was lagging yesterday. So, and other than that, I'll try to, use my voice to work with it. But then let's get started with code, because I do not have any presentation for today. So it will be mostly through code that I will be showing. And if you want to follow along, you can open up your Android Studio, or if you have Flutter installed, you can open up Visual Studio Code, and we'll try to do it simultaneously, hands-on. And if you have any problem in following along, so I have prepared the GitHub README. It will be mostly about what all, like, I have the code done there so that you can follow along. And if you run into some issues, you can check it from there. I'll first share the link, and then so this is the GitHub repository. Here I have the first day content as well, and the day 2, and some resource links that you can use later on. And then other than that, there is the app that we will be working with today in steps. So there could be some issue, as in some error in code, because I forgot to check like a few lines, but I'll try to keep it updated after this session. But yeah, let's try to work with it. So I'll share my screen and get started with it. So we'll get started by opening up our IDE, whatever you want to work with. For beginners, for beginners, I recommend using Android Studio. Why? Because it gives you a lot of options, as in you can use the Flutter inspector, and there are a lot of things like, since it has emulator, easy configuration for emulator, so you can easily get started and set up your emulator. For today's session, I will be using my mobile device to run the Flutter application on, as in, because I think like my emulator really lags on my device since it's a laptop, and therefore it is better like when I'm using Chrome, Android Studio simultaneously. So I like to run my applications on a device, like on my mobile device itself. So to run your application on a mobile device, you need to configure developer mode, as in you need to turn on USB debugging. It is a very simple step. You can go over to your settings and go down to your system, or your about phone, like wherever your about phone is, and tap 7 times on your build number. So that should open up like the developer settings for your mobile device if it's an Android, and then you can go to your developer settings and turn on USB debugging. For now, what we'll do is we'll get started by creating a new Flutter project. So if you are using Android Studio, so you can have the Flutter extension installed and click on create a new Flutter project. So get started by creating a new Flutter application, and I'll give it a name as in, so we'll call it weather app for now. You can name it accordingly, and you can give it a description. I'll go with the default one for now. And then this is the package name. As I mentioned yesterday, package names are meant to be unique for your place. If you are going to upload your application to Play Store, it needs to be unique. So you can set it to your domain name, or for now you can set it to like com.aditya as in your name and then the application name. So I'll finish creating the project. Simultaneously, if you are trying to do it on Visual Studio Code, so what you can do is you can go to your terminal, as in click on new terminal and type in flutter create weather app, and then navigate to this directory. So to launch the app, you need to run it, as in type in flutter run. On Android Studio, you can use the green button on the top to run the main.dart. So if I run it now, it should open to the default code that we have in a Flutter application. And this is like a small trick that I use to show my mobile device. You can use ApowerMirror. It's a application available on your Play Store, as well as you can download it on your Windows PC to mirror your mobile device. So my application would actually be running on my Android mobile phone, and it can be mirrored here, like how it will be shown on the device using this ApowerMirror application. So yeah, I'll just set that up once. And there we have it. So I'll go over to the green button and click on run. So it should take some time to build. Till this happens, like what I'll do is I'll take out this time to again go over the code that we have from yesterday's session. So we have the main function. That is the first function to get the control. As in, whenever you run your application, the control goes over to the main function. It has this run app, which runs the base widget. My app is the root of our application. This is the first widget, as in the ground on which rest of the application or rest of the widgets, which are like Lego blocks, would be made on. So my app is our root widget, and what it does is it simply returns a material app. So material app has a lot of features available, like you can give it a title. It has a theme data, which we will be mostly using. A theme data is, you can tap into this theme data. Primary swatch is the primary color that your application will have. Normally all Flutter applications have this blue color as the primary color, and there is also an accent color that you can define. So these accent and primary colors are used to define the theme of your application. So if you like are into development, or if you do like web dev or something, so there is this website called Color Hunt, which lets you find different color palettes for your application. So these are like really this is like a really good website to select a theme for your application or for your website. So you can simply go over to Color Hunt, and it will have like different palettes available. You can use any of these palettes, copy a color code, and you can use it in your application. So this is one of the websites I use. Like I like these 4 palettes that I've used in different applications of mine. Like there is this website I prepared which uses the same color palette that we have here, first one. So it is orange on top and light color on the back. So this is like a website where you can select colors and use these colors in your Flutter application or website for that matter. So theme data can be defined. This is the theme of your application. We'll clear the comments. We'll keep the primary swatch for now. I'll show you how to use this color later. And what we'll do is we are waiting on this application to run. So it will take some time to uh, configure the Gradle files and then build the APK and then launch it on a mobile device. But while it runs, we can clear the code. And what we'll do is we'll get rid of the home page, as in the home page that it comes with. I'll clear that. And what will happen is I'll get a error under this home page line. So since I just cleared the code, so I'll have to remove this. And what happens is your project, your any Flutter project that you build has this Android folder, which has the Android files, and the iOS folder, which has the iOS file. And there is this lib folder that basically has the main.dart, in which we write the code that we, write in Dart, and then it's later configured for Android and iOS. So what I like to do is, and this is something I didn't initially do, is to, make different folders. For one is for screens. So you can go over to your lib and do a right click and go to new and create a package or a folder. So this is a screens package that you can create, and it will house all the screens that you have in your Flutter application. So all the screens or all the UI side of it, where you are just, creating the view, you can put it inside this screens folder. So I'll go ahead and do the right click, go over to new and create a new Dart file inside this package, which I'll call homepage. So now what I did is I cleared my main.dart because I don't like a lot of code in main.dart, and took it and created a new file called homepage inside a screens folder inside my lib folder. So now all the code that I will write for the homepage would be inside this. And it is taking some time to build, but we can continue and write the code while it builds. So inside this homepage.dart, I'll just first step when writing any code is to import the material library. I'll just do that, import package material.dart, and the APK is also ready. So this is like it opens up to the home page or the default code that the Flutter team had written. We have just cleared that. So right now it will still run like the increment button. When I tap on it, it increments the counter on the screen. That is the simple code that every new Flutter application that you create comes with. So we have cleared that code. Our main.dart is basically returning a home page that isn't there. So we are getting this error. We created a new folder called screens, which has the homepage.dart. I have imported material.dart inside this, and now I will define a new widget. So what I'll do is I'll create a stateless widget, because right now I just need a home page, and stateless widgets take lesser, resources to build. So I'll just create a new home page which returns a container for now. I'll go back to my main.dart, and now what I need to do is, since this home page is not inside this Dart file, I need to import it. I'll come over here and type in import package. I need to import the home page from there. So first I'll type in import screens and then type in homepage.dart. So this should import the home page. So this is like one way of doing it, but this is very cumbersome. So you can just go over to your homepage widget and right click on it, go over to show context actions, and then it would show you like why there is this error. So it would give you some of the options that you can do. You can create a class, method, function by this name, or you can just import package weather app, screens, and homepage.dart. Now there are two options which are almost similar: import library screens that home dash homepage, or import library package dot weather app dash screens dot homepage. So the upper one is more specific, and that is better because it tells you like there is this weather app package from which you have to import homepage from the screen. So this is more specific, so it's better, and you can go ahead with it. Again, it a homepage doesn't take in a title property, so there is no use of defining that. And right now, what we'll do is we'll tap into this hot reload of our Flutter application. Since I modified the code, I can just simply go over to this Flutter hot reload, and it should show the changes that I just wrote on my Flutter application. Since I am only returning an empty container, it just gives me like a black screen. But let's see, like, can we modify the color of this container? So I'll tap into the color property, which we have seen yesterday. But again, you can just simply go over to your container and try to see all the properties that are available with it. So you can see like you can modify the width, the height, the constraints and all that. But we also have the color property. This on the right that you see small color is the thing that you have to write down. And on the left side, it shows like what it takes in, as in color. This smaller one takes in a color. So like it would be confusing in start, but once you begin developing, this is very important to know. So I'll type in color, and it would show me that this color takes in a color. So it is like when you write in color, you have to give it a color, as in it should be a color class property. So I'll type in colors. So it would show me colors, and then this is a enum, so I can use like what are all the different properties available in it. So colors dot black, colors dot orange, and all these different color options available. So now this container is colored in yellow, and I just did Control plus S because I don't want to go over here again and again to do hot reload. So you can just save your file and it would hot reload it automatically. So that is what I like to do. And now how to define, like how to use one of these colors actually. So like let us say I want to use this color code here that I have. So I'll just copy this code, and instead of using colors right now, what I'll do is I'll type color and bracket. So it should take in this color. Okay, so I pasted the color code, but it wouldn't work. What I need to define is also the opacity with it. So 0xXFF, it defines the opacity. It's right now like at the same 100%. So like this, you can give it a color of your own, as in right now it's colored purple like the one we had here. So this is like a small color trick. You can look into this opacity part. I'm not very familiar with it, but you have to type in like the 6 hex code with the opacity you need. So this is something you can research after this workshop. I'll try to look it up as well. Other than this, we just right now defined a new container. On our homepage, there is this container, but I do not need that. I'll get rid of this container. I'll just select it from here. One of the other things that I want to point out is you need to know like where your widget is. So what Flutter does is it tells you like where the starting bracket ends. So this is like really cool. They tell you with comments, so it is easier to get rid of containers, or it is easier to get rid of widgets like this. So I'll just clear it. And what I'll return instead is I'll use a scaffold because I love scaffold. It has all these properties that I can tap into. There is app bar is there, so I can give it an app bar. And there are other properties like there is a body, BODY. So my body will have a column. No, okay, let's use a elevated button for now. There is this elevated button. We saw buttons yesterday, right? So buttons have on pressed and a child property that we can tap into. How do I know that? Because It would definitely, one thing would be like it would come with experience, but other than that, you can just go over to your widget and check like what all properties are available. One is it takes in a child which is of type widget. Then it also takes in on pressed which is of type function. So you can tap into these properties. uh, Before we go into that, let's do one thing. I'll just hot reload it for now. Let's see what happens. I'm getting a empty widget, empty button here on the top, and I have got my app bar. Let's try to quickly go back and go to our main.dart, which is here, and try to use this primary color. So let's change it to, like, let's say, let's go with black. It will look fancier. So let's try to hot reload, like what happens. Okay, color is not of subtype material color. So this is like a common error we get whenever we try to change it, because this needs to be of material color, and there is a very big way actually to define material colors, or you can define constants too. So what I'll do is, okay, what I'll do is I'll go to lib folder and create a new dart file. So if you are like, if you will continue to develop in Flutter, you will commonly see this constants.dart file in a number of applications. So if you'll go for open source as well, they would have this constants.dart file. What happens in constants.dart is they define all the different constants. They define the text styles as well. So what I'll do here is import material. I'll go over to my constants.dart file, import material. Material has all the colors and all. So what I'll do is I'll define color, a background color, and try to use one of the colors from here. I think this looks good. So we'll copy the code and paste it here. Let's try to see if this works. I'll go over to my main.dart file and replace this theme data primary color and use k background color here. Let's see if it works. I'm not sure if it will work or not. Okay, so it's working, right? So this is like the constants file. Now what happens is, instead of changing later on your color everywhere, we use a variable. So variables are used for the same reason. Why? Now if I want to change this color later on in my application to this color, so I'll just copy the code and paste it here. And if I will hot reload it from here, like, it should apply everywhere, which is really, or it didn't apply. So we'll have to check like why it is not applying here. Okay, it's done. Yeah, so this is like one of the benefits why you should use variables while writing code. And so this is like how you can set a primary color. Now how to, so this is the primary color, that is why it is getting automatically applied to our scaffold. But if we want to some change some property, as in we want to define a background color, then we can also tap into the background property and give it a some color ourselves. As in, I don't like the purple for this particular screen, so I can this, okay, this was the background color for scaffold. Our app bar, if I don't like the background color, so I can give it like a red color here. So so it will be purposely set to red for this one page only, on this one page only, but our primary color would remain that purple color that we have defined. So if we don't define this background color, it will just take in the default color that we have. So this is about like the theme side of it. And if you want to define this let us like also go back to our main dot dart again, and this time let's define an accent color. So okay, now there is this small thing that happened here. There was a lot of indentation. Now what this shows is like we forgot to put a comma here, that is why this happened. And what we need to do is now accent color, and we'll use one of the colors again from Color Hunt, because it is a great website to find theme. Like if you aren't a designer, you can use this website. I am really bad with color, so I really use it to know what are all the different options that go well together. So that has helped me over time. Like even if you are working at a working as an intern, so a lot of the times like they'll ask you like, okay, design, do this, get this done, or do this project. So you have some freedom in choosing colors. And most of us like not do not know normally what colors are good or what look good actually. So you can sit on the palette and try to figure out which works with it, or you can just go to Color Hunt, try to check out some of the palettes that the designers have made and use them. So you can also save them, like I like these two, so I'll save them for later. Yeah, and I what I did right now is I went back to my K constants and defined a new constant with this K accent color. Now, why am I writing like this K? Why am I using, this K before this variable name? There is a very simple reason actually. So what happens is if you'll type in K, you'll get all the different options of color accent. Like right now, it's showing all these different options. But if you'll type in K, you will get all your constants in one place. You can use any other word as well. But K comes from this tutorial I followed actually. The instructor, she mentioned K, so I've been using K since then. And I think a lot of developers use it as well. So K is good for that. And now I have defined a primary color and an accent color inside the theme of my material app. So this is on the main.dart file right now. So we are done with that. We also saw like how to put in constants. We'll also see like how to define constants for text styles or other things as well as we go inside the application. And on our homepage we have like not we haven't done much. We have imported material and defined this homepage, which has a elevated button in its center and an app bar. What I wanted to show with the theme data was कि now I can just type in background color and use that theme data that we have defined. So material app is our root. It is in the root of our widget. So what happens is this should flow to all our widgets, as in every widget has access to it. So what I can do is I can type background color and set it to theme dot off. So what it takes in this build context. So it will take in this build context. I'll just let it be and dot, and then I'll get two options, primary color or accent color. So I can type in accent color. And now if I hot, restart, so you'll notice that our background just got color with the same color that we had here, this one. And the upper one hasn't changed. So I think I'll have to hot restart it. Okay, now it has changed. And now you would notice that we got the background color for our scaffold, which looks really cool. It is from the color that we saw right here. And on our constant page we can change it later if we need it to be. And our theme primary and accent colors are defined. So most widgets would automatically get these colors, so we don't have to write them like we did, but we had to write background color because I wanted to show you like how to use this theme dot off. What is this build context? Actually, this build context, you would notice like it keeps on going to every widget that we have here. It is basically used to check like how these widgets would be built. So this theme passes with this context everywhere throughout the widget tree, so you'll have access to it. Sometimes you would have to give pass context to a function to build something on your application, to build something on your UI side, and it would come, as in it would become gradually clear after you try to use a lot of widgets. So for now, what we have done is define the colors. Not a very big thing. Let's move on with the application, what we need to do. So we'll go down to our elevated button, which is right now at the top here. And what I'll do is I'll just first wrap it with the center. I use this left click and show context actions to wrap this with the center. And now if I hot reload it, it will come to the center of the screen. Very simple. What I'll do is I'll define the child property for this elevated button. Child, I need to show some text here on the button. So I'll use the text widget as its child, one of the very basic widgets. What it takes in a string. So I just put two columns here and mentioned click me. Now, if I hot reload it, it should read some text, but still it's not clickable because to make a button clickable, we need to define the on pressed property for this button. What is this on pressed? On pressed is takes in a function. So we want to tell the button what to do when it's clicked. So I'll type in on pressed and I'll just define an empty function for now. See, so this is like how you define an empty function. This could be a name here, but what we need to do is we can just keep it unnamed. This would be the parameter section that takes in a parameter. You can give it a value or something which will be used later. So right now we don't have any value, so I'll just clear it for now. And then we have the curly braces, which are like the function part where you write the whatever the code goes inside the function. So yeah, that is like, let's print something to console. Now print statements are very useful. So like let's say hello world. So these print statements are really useful. Like as a developer, they would be a big tool to debug your Flutter application. So now you would notice like it's clickable on screen and you can just do a print hello world onto the screen. Right. About like we are done with this part. What I want to show now is after we have done this button, what we need to do is to get started with our weather application. We need to be able to first get the location of our device, as in we want to know from where the user is using our application so that we can tell the weather for that particular place. So how do we do that? In Flutter, again, you do not have to write all the code, as in there are a lot of things that other people have already done. So you can just go to Google how to get location in Flutter. So this is like location widget, but what you would see, one is this location widget and one is this geolocator widget. So we would be working with geolocator, which is a package in Flutter. So this is one of the Flutter favorites. You can check out like popularity and all, but this is the website that I want to show, which is pub.dev. A number of packages that you can use with your Dart and Flutter applications are available here. So you have all these packages, different things that you can do in your Flutter application. There are HTTP package, which we will be using today to get data. There is Hive, which is an extension for Hive. You can later check it out. Flutter Block is there. Block is a state management tool. Sound, if you want to use, audio, or if you want to do recording. Some of my favorites are like filter list is there. This is from one of the people in community. And then there are like some of the packages that I normally use are, one is this carousel slider, percent indicator is there. I like liquid swipe as well, and story designer. So this is really cool. So these are all the packages that you can reuse in your Flutter application. Carousel slider is something to show as a slider inside your Flutter application, and this is a very useful package actually. So there are different option available, like how you want to slide. There is one, I believe, for tender swipe as well, and these packages can be used inside your Flutter application, as in when you want to show, when you're creating a shopping app, you want to show all the products. When you are creating let us say onboarding screen, when some user is coming to your app for the first time, you want to show him like what are the different features available, so it can be used again. So this is one package that you can use inside your Flutter application. Then there is percent indicator, which I really love. It is really useful in hackathons and all, because you can show like the progress and you can show how much work is done or inside your Flutter application. Or if you're getting some data, you can visually show it instead of just mentioning like 70%, to you can visually show it with a circle. And you don't have to write any of this code. You can simply go and copy the package code, go over to pubspec.yaml. This is the file that we have, pubspec.yaml, and this is one of the very important files. You'll find it inside your project down here in pubspec.yaml. And what you have to do is go to this file, come down to dependencies, and under Cupertino icons, hit enter and paste what you copied, as in type in the package name, put this colon and the version that you want, and go to the top and do a pub-get. So pub-get gets all the package files that we have for a particular package. And this pubspec.yaml is very useful. It takes in the fonts as well if you want to put in fonts. If you later want to use images that you have inside, in your flood in this application, so you can import those as well with pubspec.yaml. And other than that, it has the version, which is really important. So if you are publishing your app to Play Store, what you can do is after you have published once, you want to push in an update to that application, you can upgrade the version number from here. And we also have the name section here, the description here that you can change. So what we did is we added this percent indicator and imported the files. I'll go back to my lib folder, go back to my home page, and for some time I'll just get rid of this elevated button. Again, Flutter comments show you where your package or where your widget ends, so you can just get rid of that from there. And what I'll do is I'll use the percent indicator. Okay, so we have two options, linear and circular percent indicator. I'll type in circular percent indicator. I want the circle one. And what it will do is it will automatically import this percent indicator file. So after you have done pub-get, it would import it automatically. But if it doesn't, you can just import it manually. And now in this percent indicator, you can again tap into this and try to see what are all the different options available. So it takes in percentage, which is of type double. It takes line width, which is of type double, and you can check out like all the different properties. So I'll give it percent is of type double. You can again see it when you are just mentioning the property, it will show you what type it is. So this is like one of the points that I want you to focus on, like how to know what is the type. Because when you will start developing, right, so it would become very important to know you are defining a property, what is the type of that property, what is it that you can mention for it. So this is something that I want you to take away from this workshop itself. So when you type in percent, it would take in like a double number. So let us say like 0.5. Let's try to hot reload it. What we'll see is we'll get an error because we cannot just hot reload when we have added new package files. We'll have to restart the application so that all these package file can be sent over to the mobile device. That is generally the issue, but let's see what is the problem in this one. So what I'll do is I'll just close this application, try to rebuild it again, because we have just imported these new package files and it will take some time to move it to the mobile device itself. So this should take some time to build. What would happen on screen is it should show this percent indicator, and then there is this liquid swipe package as well that you can use in your Flutter application. Again, really cool. Like I didn't know about it actually. I came across it through a Discord server, but it has been like good for hackathons, because the more visually appealing you make your app, normally there are more chances of you winning. uh, because they don't focus as much on functionality, because they don't focus on UI also. But if you make it like good, if you make it appealing, then there are chances that you will win. Because in 48 hours normally, like the time period that hackathons are, you have to work on one functionality and get it done. But to get some extra points, you can make it visually appealing. So such packages are really useful to add that extra thing to your Flutter application. This is like the Liquid Swipe package. And then there is the Story Designer package, which lets you create stories in app. So there is also one package that lets you create Instagram like stories in any application. And a number of packages are there that you can check out. The like button package is also there. This is really cool. It, I think, has animations for the like button which you can use. Yeah, so it has these animations that you can use. So it should take some time again. And what I want to do is focus on this geolocator package. So geolocator is the package that we would use to get the location of our mobile device. I'll just go ahead and copy the package name, go down to my pubspec.yaml, and okay, so I shouldn't build it as such. I'll just let me just, okay, add the geolocator package as well, so they both get built together. And to use this package inside your Flutter application, what you need to do is also make some changes to your Android side. We need some permissions actually. So if you are using it on Android, you need to enable Android X. Now all new Flutter projects that you make come default, with enabled Android X. So some people like also get this error, like you are getting this error in Android X. What happens is generally the console reads like you have this error in Android X. But so it says like, okay, enable Android X, and most people are just looking how to enable Android X. But most Flutter applications already come enabled. So then they get confused, like it's already enabled, like why are you still getting there? So chances are, like if you're getting this error, it would be due to Compile SDK version being really low. I once tried to export an application and I was getting this Android X error. So it was not because my Android X was not enabled, but it was because my Compile SDK version was very low. So this is like a side trick. You can keep it in mind for now. Nothing that you have to worry about immediately. But if you ever get an Android X error, also check out your SDK version. Uh, so what we need to do is we need to add permissions to our Android application. We need the user's permission to access location. So I'll copy this permission code, which is just user permission, and it accesses course location. There are two location types. One is find location, as in if you exactly want the mobile device location. This would be just heavy on battery, so for now we'll just use the course location. And what you need to do is, as mentioned, to do so, open Android manifest and make these changes. You have to make these changes to the Android manifest. So what is this Android manifest, how to find it? So let's do that immediately. What we'll do is we'll go over to our Android folder. Since I am using a Windows, you need a Mac OS to work with the iOS side. uh, you can make changes, but you'll need Xcode for some of the changes, so you'll need a Mac for that. So we'll just work with Android for now. If you have a Mac and you want to work with the iOS side, you can just check out the iOS instructions. It would be just pasting these key and string value pair inside your info.plist. Nothing special. But for Android users, like what you need to do is just go to Android, then go to app, then go to the source folder, and then go to main, and you'll have this Android manifest XML. So Android manifest XML is also one file that we would be using to firstly change the, I think the name is there. Yeah, label is there. This is the name with which the application shows up on your Android device. And let me just check if it's the same name. Yeah, so this is like the name that generally your application runs on your Android device. This you can change. And one more thing that we need it for is configuring the icons, but you just need to change the icon file, so that isn't much work. What we need to do now is copy this permission line from here, and we need to paste it inside the Android XML as direct children of the manifest tag. So what does it mean by direct children? As in, it should be directly under this manifest tag that we have here. So I'll just go down. Uh, I'll paste it as the direct child of the manifest tag user permission. Normally, you would notice in many tutorials, people paste it here itself. Like permissions normally go here, but I pasted it here so that it's visually visible. As in, I just because some people get confused with this package and all that, so I pasted it down here so that you can see like it's a direct child of this manifest tag. As in, it isn't under application or something, it is just outside but inside the manifest tag. So I hope that makes sense. I'll try to again rerun my application. We have imported the geolocator package, we have added permission. That's about it. If you're working on the iOS, if you have a Mac OS, you can make changes to info.plist. And I'm running it on Android device, so I don't want to go there. And that would take some time to build again. We'll close this folder, go back to our lib folder. We have the screens that we are working with. It is right now using percent indicator. I'll just remove that after like I've shown, because that build was taking time. And constants is there. This is like a generated file. When we imported the package, it was automatically generated, so we won't mess with it. And this is the main that is right now just returning a home screen. So yeah, we have the colors as well. So okay, we'll wait for it for some time. Or since it's building already, we can just get rid of this circular percent indicator and bring back our elevated button, which just says text like click me, and it has an on press which is just printing hello world. We need to now get the the user's location. So uh, the goal is to now fetch that user's location. We would be tapping into the geolocator package for this location itself. And there are some commands that you need to write down for this geolocator package. You can always check the documentation, as in if you ever do not know what are different commands are there, so you can go over to the documentation, check that out once. I also have it on my GitHub repository. If you do not know like what command is there to get the location, we'll get started by tapping into the position property and get the location of the device. So I'll go over to this geolocator package itself. It has all these properties that we can tap into after installing is done. I'll close this Android, I'll close this iOS. Then it has this example right here, and it also tells us like how to use it. As in, this is the position, right? We can import geolocator and position dot await geolocator dot get current position. So this is something that we would be using inside our Flutter application. It is taking time to build. So what I'll do is I'll come to the top, import geolocator package inside our Flutter application, geolocator.dart. And what I'll do is right now my on pressed has this print hello world, but I'll create a new function called this get location. So this is like how you define a function. You write the function name and the parameter list. Since we aren't giving it anything, so it will just be empty. Right now my function isn't like, it's just written here. I have not defined it yet, so it's showing a red line under it. So I'll just go over to the home page, extend and clear up some space and define my function here. So I'll type in void because this first word is generally the return type that we have in our application. So void get location. So I'll type in the function name, type in the parameters. It will keep it empty. Method dash was called on null. Again, we are getting this error. So circular percent indicator. So we'll just get rid of that, I think. Anyways, this circular percent indicator, we might be getting error because it was defined outside. Like I don't think I had scaffold. I think I had it there or not, but you can look into that later. For now, just we work with the geolocator one itself. So we'll go over to the homepage dart. Again, what we have done so far is just first we have imported the geolocator package which we will use to get the location. Then we have this void get location function which we have defined. So inside this function, what I'll do is I'll use this geolocator. So how to check out the commands? Again, you can refer the documentation. Do not have memorize it all. So go over to the documentation. They'll have all the commands mentioned there, like how you can get the position. So you can just simply copy this from here. As in, you can even type it down. It's simple code. Like you have to type in position and give it like a position there, or you can reuse it from the documentation. So use it from the documentation itself and just have the position code here. So I'll just explain what is this. So we have position as the type, and this position is the variable which await geolocator dot get current position. So we are tapping into this geolocator class to get the current position, and we are giving it as a parameter defining the accuracy. So we do not, so location accuracy is set to high, but we can use a lower accuracy as well. That should work for our application. And now what is this await? So there is a very detailed concept of asynchronous programming in Dart. What happens is asynchronous programming is basically like we need for processes that take time, as in we will take some time in getting the location. So await is basically telling the CPU to wait on this process to complete, then going over to the next part. As in, let me make it more clearer, but what we need to do is, since we have to await on a process, we need to make this function asynchronous. So this must be like a very difficult word to understand initially, but asynchronous basically is something not in sync. As in, we'll wait for this process to complete, and then we will go over to the next one. Let me show it with the brief example. After we have, okay, so I'll use the print statement that I was talking about, and I'll use this variable position dot. Now it has all these properties like position dot altitude or latitude or longitude. So I'll tap into this and print these two values to the screen. All right. So this is like basic. So let me explain asynchronous quickly, because we have this void get location function which we defined as async for now. Async means it's not, it would be like asynchronous, and we have this position. Now what will happen in the normal flow is, if I do not have this await, the control would go from here, it would run this, and it would go to this next statement as in one by one. So if I do not have await, this process will take some time, as in it will take more time than regular processes to get my location, because look, getting location is a big time. My mobile phone needs to send back, like a request would come to my mobile phone, it would send back some data as in, okay, this is the location. It would take time in the sense like it would take some milliseconds or for this to completely happen. But my CPU is very fast. What it would do is, instead of waiting on this process to complete, it would just go over to the next one and try to print the longitude and latitude. But since in those milliseconds I do not have the position, matlab I don't have the position ready, it has not returned back to me. So these two print statements would will not have data. So they won't have data to print, and I will get a error. Therefore I need to mention like await, Like I want to tell my CPU to wait for this process, this statement to complete, to get the location, to get the position completely, and then use this position to print the longitude and latitude. So that is like an overview of the asynchronous programming. You can dive deeper into it, you can research it, because this is a very good topic. As in, if you are a beginner, you will know like overview of UI and etc. But you can, like, it comes in a intermediate topic, I believe, for Flutter developers to know about asynchronous programming. But what I tried to do is was just give an overview of it. Let's try to run our application and let's try to get the location of our mobile device. So okay, now when I tapped on click me, it's asking me to access the device location, so I'll give it permission for that. Let's see if it's not happening. So I'll just wait on it to again restart. There could be an error in configuring the file, so we'll just wait it for to restart again and then try to print it to screen. So this is like Flutter development takes time, as in I do not promise like we'll have a complete app ready today itself, but again it takes time to get the application running, to have all these packages. But once you will do it in flow, like right now I'm doing it casually, as in trying to explain as well, so it's taking a lot of builds. But although if you do it in flow, like what you're doing, you can simply go ahead and import files that you want once at a time, and then have the functions and all ready, uh, and then do like hot reloads and hot restarts accordingly to that. But for now, like, we need to show how it's getting the location, so it's taking time in that. But after we are like done getting the location, once it prints to screen, what we need to do is use that location to get the data for that particular place. So I'll just go back to the repository itself, and for now we are just waiting on that application to restart again. So getting location of the device was our first objective, and we are using a button right now. I'll explain like how to get it without the button as well. Now the second step would be to use this location to get the weather data. So what we'll do is we'll use the open weather API. So while my application starts, I'll tell you about the open weather API, which is like the API we would be using. And then we would also see the HTTP package with which we'll get data. So, and coming to this open weather API, so you can go over to openweatherapi.com and you'll have to create a new account. So I have an account here. I am already logged in, but for new users, you'll have to create a new account to access this API. So this is the API that we would be using. It gives us like access to current weather data or the hourly forecast, and it has all these APIs. So you can go over to API and try to get an API key for yourself. This is the API key would be something that we would be using to access this data. and it has shown like how to make an API call. So I'll go over to my API keys. So I had initially made some API keys, and you can create a new API key, like type in weather app and click on generate to get this API key, right? So you can copy this API key from here and go back to your Flutter application. So inside my homepage, I'll just go to the top, type in constant and API key. So I'm defining a new variable called constant API key, which would remain constant, and I'll give it a string value. So you can do that till then while our application loads up. So you can create a new account and use save the API key to your application. So we'll try to print location. Okay, so you will see like we have the latitude and longitude on the screen. The function that we had inside our button was print hello world, and then we were calling the get location function. So the get location function is defined here, which prints the longitude and the latitude respectively, and we got the longitude and latitude on the screen, and we have uh, the hello world printed as well. So we have done the first step successfully using the geolocator to get the mobile device location. What we did was we also had to give it permission. So there could be an edge case where the user denies permission. So for that, put in the you need to put in try and catch, or you need to make the user give you the permission to access the location. But for now we are just going with the best case that the user gives you the permission. You can use dart exception handling, but if the user denies permission, wrap it with the try and catch and print any problems that we might run into. So this is for like the advanced apps. Once you want to properly make a weather application, put it up on Play Store. So for that you can take care of these edge cases as well. So we'll just try to use the location to get weather data. What we did was we created a open weather API. We need to create an account, get the API key, and we'll use this API key to make call with the app. Now inside this documentation, you'll see like we can call for current weather data for one location by city name. So what we can do is we can type in api.openweather app.organization data and try to query based on city name. And we'll also have to give the app ID or our API key to it so that it knows like who is making the call. And we can also call this using latitudes and longitudes. So here it is by geographic coordinates. So this is the URL that we'll use. We'll type in api.openweather and then latitude and longitude and the app ID. Right. So this geolocator package is done, but how to make API calls? So we'll use this package called HTTP, which is again one of the popular packages that you'll keep coming across throughout your Flutter development. We'll use it for a number of things as you proceed with it. It is at 100% popularity, and I believe it is also one of the Flutter favorites. It isn't showing up right now, so we'll just go down to pubspec.yaml. There are other variants available too for HTTP. There's Do, I think, which is a variant for it. Yeah, this is one of the variants for HTTP package that you can use, but we'll just go with HTTP for now. So go down to pubspec.yaml and paste it here and also do a pub get. So it should fetch the files. Once we have the files, what we'll do is, again, you what we need to do right now is we'll import this HTTP package. After we are done adding it to our, we need to import it and we need to get the location. So we need to get the data, and this is how we'll create a new function called get data, and inside that we'll use HTTP response to get from this API that we have, and give it a latitude and longitude, and then also give it the API key that we have defined. And then there is about status code, like we need to give the response, get the response. If it's 200, then we are successfully getting the data, and then we have to decode this data. So inside this itself, I'll just clear up some space. Go back to my homepage.dart, where we have all this code written here. So we have our import geolocator.dart and all this stuff here. What we need to do is use the HTTP package, and so I'll just go ahead and type in import and http.dart. So I have also defined like I have defined the API key already that I got from the OpenWeather API. And what I'll do now is this use the location to get data. So we are importing this http.dart, and now inside our homepage, again, what we are doing is we have this get location. But right now what we need to do is, each time our Flutter application starts, we need to click on the button to get the location. So what I need to do is, first is to somehow get the location each time my application loads up. So for that, what I'll do is, instead of using a stateless widget, I'll tap into the widget lifecycle. So yesterday we were talking about how there are stateless widgets and there are stateful widgets. Stateless widgets stay same throughout the application. They have to be destroyed if we want to change some properties of it. Like if I wanted to change some color, my old widget would be destroyed and it would be rebuilt. Whereas in stateful widgets, we can have a life cycle, we can have some functions, init state, set state, we can change the state inside of our stateful widget. So stateful widgets are heavy on resources, so I prefer to use stateless widgets unless I require a stateful widget. So what I'll do is I'll go to show context action, and Flutter is really smart. It will show me the options that I can convert my stateless widget into stateful widget without having to do much. So I'll just click on it and it would just complete everything for me. It converted it into a state full widget, created the state part for this home page, and all my code just got transferred to that. Really easy with Flutter. And what I'll do is, instead of having this elevated button here, again, comments will show me where my widget ends. I'll remove it from here, right? So I'll just have a simple text like, okay, weather app for now, but I'll just get rid of it too later. And what I'll do is, now I'll use something called init state. So I don't think we talked about it yesterday, but init state is like the initialization state, or when your widget is first initialized or when it is first built. So this function is run, and everything in it would be run as well. So you can get rid of this comment and instead get location, you can put it here. So let me just show you like how it works. There is also something called dispose, that is like the when your widget is disposed or when it is destroyed. So that is all the code that is in it is run. Dispose we use if we want to get rid of some resources, as in when you would work with animation, so you need to get rid of animation controller, you can put it in dispose. But let me show you how like void init state works. So I'll return to my terminal, I think, try to rerun the application. Okay, now you would see like instead of now I had put my get location in it. So when I rerun my application, when this widget was first initialized, my function got run and it printed the location automatically. I didn't have to tap on any button, I didn't have to do anything. So this is like when my widget would be built, it would automatically fetch the location and save it somewhere. As in, we don't have variables right now, but we can add some variables, and instead of printing we could save this value to those variables. Let's just do that. Let's just create new variables, as in type in variable latitude, and also create a variable called longitude. All right, so instead of having it right here, let's just save this in variables. Right. Similarly for this. And now instead of directly printing it from this, I can use these variables to print it. See how that works. Okay, so it's printing out fine. All right, so we have that done. Now we'll go back and we'll try to work with the HTTP side. So, okay, we have it here. We are done with this part of it. We are getting the location whenever our widget initialized. So I'll just go over to this HTTP package. I have imported the HTTP package, added it as well. So inside this get location, this is the function that I have. After I have got the latitude and longitude, I'll try to get the fetch data as well. So I'll create a function called fetch data. Again, nothing as such in it, but outside, I'll come outside of this, and what I'll do is I'll create a get data function, empty for now. So this error should, okay, I should create a fetch data function itself. This error should go away. And what will happen inside this function is response. Now we have response from the HTTP Dart package, and this is the variable name and this is the type of this response, and I'll define it as http.get. One thing that you can do is you can make your imports, as in specify a name for these imports, so that like what uh, particular package you're working with. So if I go down like this, if I try to get without http, okay, so this is there. This is from the http.dart package get function and takes in a URL. So URL is what we would be using to make the API call. So what I'll do is I'll just define a variable called URL equal to, and what it would be is URI dot pass, and here I can give it the URL that I would be using. So coming back to this application itself, what we were doing here is we were using importing this package as HTTP, but I haven't done it right now here. According to this, right now I am getting response from this URL and I need to define this URL. So I'm using URI.parse to parse this particular URL. So how do we work with it? We have this open weather API. Let's try to invalid message because we haven't defined latitude and longitude, but this is how you would use it. We'll first type in HTTP and then type in this specify a latitude and longitude and then give it an API key. So let's just copy it from here, go back to our code, paste it here, and instead of using it like this, I'll get rid of this and dollar. So for string interpolation in Dart, we use the dollar sign. So I'll type in API key, and this API key should come from here where I've defined the API key. And latitudes and longitude too, I'll define it like this. Latitude and longitude. All right, so we have it ready. We'll also add HTTPS. Right. Okay, so we are getting this error. Why? Because whatever we'll try to fetch would be a future response. So what is this future? We talked about asynchronous programming as in await and async. Those are very detailed concepts. But for now, for you to understand, future is something that would, take time, as in it would, this data or this response would come to us after a particular time, as in it will take some time to get that data. So what I need to do is I need to make this function a type of future, and this should work fine now. And I need to await on it, also make it async. Hmm. As in now it should wait for this response to get data from the URL. Now what we'll do is, after we have got, like, after we have sent the request, we need to see if we are even getting the response, or if the response is successful. So that is something I'll do. I'll just if I'll use if else statements, and I'll tap into this response dot status code. So status code is something that tells us like if our request was successful. So if this is equal to 200, I wouldn't go into basics of HTTP like this API calls, but if it's 200, then we have successfully received the data. So what we can do is we can save this data inside a string. So let's say string data equals to response. This response we are getting, and its body, response dot body, is the data we are getting back. And what we can do is now uh, there are three types of values that we'll normally get. Let's just see. Okay, like this is like an example of API call. So I'll just paste it here and I'll get my API key from here. So I'll replace this API key end part here. Okay. So let's try to see like what type of data we get normally. So this is the data. When you make this call, you'll get like coordinate. And what you can do is, I think I had a plugin here for it. So if you are like into web development, you would have some plugin that would help you better visualize JSON data. So I do not have it right now, but this is like you are getting coordinates, longitude and latitude, which we already know. You are also getting weather for that, as in you're getting a description, clear sky or not. Then you are getting temperature, and there is like, I believe, the city name itself. So this is the name and this tells you the name of the place. So right now we are using these latitudes and longitude 35 and 139, which are for this place called Shuzhen. So you can, use your own latitudes and longitude. But these are the two things that we would be getting from this data. You can use like whatever properties that you want to tap into, but I will be getting the temperature and the city name for now. So I'll create a new variable called temperature. And what I need to do is this data that I am getting, I need to decode it. So I need this thing called uh, dart convert. So basically how this works is I'll go over here, import dart convert package. So I'll import it as convert. What this means is like this is the name that I can use to use any libraries from this package. So I'll come down here. I'll create a new variable called temperature, and I'll use this convert and tap into it. It's one of the functions which is JSON decode. So it should decode this JSON data that we are getting. So put this function and supply data to it, and it will decode it for you. And now what you can do is, as you go inside a JSON file, you can give the name of the key that you want, like the this value that you want, and you can try to get it. So we have it outside, like the temperature that we want is inside this main and temp. So we have our main here, this is the main here, and inside that we have the temperature. I think it would be better visually visible if I had that extension. I forgot the name, what that extension was, but that helped you better visualize. Yeah, this is the extension. I don't know why it's not turned on. Okay, so now it's better visible. We have the data outside, 13 items we are getting, and inside this main, we have the temperature that we need. So you can just copy the path from here, and it will show you like where the particular value is that you are trying to get. It's in main.temporary. So I'll type in main here, and inside that I'll go over to the temperature part of it, and this should fetch me the temperature. I can print the temperature itself, and I can also get the city name. So I'll create a new variable called city name, and again use the convert, tap into its JSON decode function and supply data to it, and get the city name. Now city name, again going back to my JSON viewer, city name is outside itself. So I do not need to go anywhere. I can just copy the path from here, come back to it and paste it. So it will copy the path, and when I come back to it will just write here name. So what I need to do is just paste name here to get to this data. And again, I can print it. And I'll get my city name printed to the console, right? So far so good. We have like, we're using the URL, we are getting the response for a particular location. Let's try running it once. If it works, uh, let's see if it works. Let's try to like go back. Okay, so right now I am in Dharamshala, Himachal Pradesh. So it's getting both the temperature, which is I believe in Fahrenheit right now. You can even modify these, like if you want it in degrees Celsius. So what you can do is you can define the mode. Let's go and check that out. Units. Okay, you can define those units. And these could be, given as properties at the end. You can tap in and just give the property. There are a lot of things that you can do. You can define these units, the mode that you want it in. If you don't want it in JSON, which is it by default, you can tap into XML and HTML. And yeah, that's about it. So you can have fun with these features, but for now let's just go with the default values. We have the latitude and longitude from the geolocator. We are getting using those location our data. We had only one screen for now, but what we need to do is now, after we have the data, let's push to a new screen and try to display this data. So what I'll do is I have my init state already, which is getting the location and then it's fetching the data. I'll also make this fetch data to await, because I don't want it to, just go to the next screen without getting the data. So what I'll do is I'll come back to my uh, Flutter, this one, and I'll try to use this data dot inside my UI, which would be the third step. So there is this one more package that I want to quickly show. You can use it later. I wouldn't use it now, but there's this great package called SpinKit, which you can use as used to show a spinner while you wait for a process to execute. I don't want to use it now. It's already 6:40. That's why. So what I'll do is I'll come back to my app. Instead of showing this text here in the side, the center, I'll use the default that we have in every Flutter application, which is the circular progress indicator. So this is like a circular indicator in the center of your screen. It is not visible right now because my background color is the same as the accent color. I can get rid of the background color, so it will be visible in the accent color. So accent color is the color that we have on all these things. Like we have it on circular progress indicator, we have it on the increment button, but this is how it shows up. So what I need to do is, after this init state is done, I want to push to a new screen. So to change pages in Flutter, I think I didn't mention it yesterday, we use this navigator class to push to a new screen. So right now, like we had been working with just one widget for now, but what I'll do is I'll go over to screens and right click, create a new file and call this weather screen, let's say. So weather screen would be the place where our data would be shown. To write code in any new Dart file, I'll have to first import it, import material and create a state less widget for now, call this weather screen. And instead of returning an empty container, let's go with scaffold. So a scaffold again can have an app bar, empty app bar for now, or we can give it some text so that it's better. You can differentiate between the two screens. So whether app, you have to give it a text widget, then type in whether, oh my god, then type in weather app here. And coming down to the body of the scaffold, I'll for now, what I'll do is I'll just have like a empty container. That would be okay. Container. Let me just give this container a color so that you can differentiate, right? So I'll use theme again, theme dot of context dot accent color. It will become yellow. And let me go back to my homepage dot dart. Now, instead of, after I get the location printed, after I get the city name and that printed, what I need to do is I need to push to a new screen. So I'll type in navigator. This is the navigator class dot push. So it works like a stack. So once you have your homepage widget, what we need to do is on this stack, push the new widget, which would become the new screen that is visible to the user. So it takes in a context and it takes in a root. Context again, as I mentioned, is passed from one widget to other as you go from one screen to other. So it takes that context, and then context is something we use to build widgets on screen. So we also need to give it a material page root, which has a builder, which again takes in some context and pushes to the new screen, which is weather screen, right? And then we need to give it a semicolon. So this is like a big command. Uh, Navigation in Flutter is a important concept, as in if you'll go to become an intern, so you need to see like what all routes you are using. Then after, there are tutorials for how to use named routes, as in you don't have to each time give it like a material page route. You can use a name for that route, define routes in your material. There's a lot of things that you can look into, covering which would be beyond this workshop for now. But for now you can see like it is simple navigator. We are pushing it and giving it a context and material page route, so you can check out how navigation is done later on. But we're just building this new weather screen when we are done. So let's try to run this application now. So it has restarted the application, got the location, printed the name, and then you would see like it has shown the new screen. Initially there would be like a small time delay that the home screen would be, this is the home screen, and then the new screen is pushed on top of it. So it would be very minutely visible, but this is something we are doing like after the function is executed completely, like after it has got the location, which is happening in milliseconds or it is taking some time. But after you're getting this all this data, it is pushing in a new screen and you can go back. So that would just bring you to the home screen, which is nothing but a rotating indicator. So you can just restart the application, could again push to the new screen. So right now like it is something that can use some work, as in instead of using dot push, I can use push and remove until, so that would completely remove the base widget from my stack. These are like advanced concepts, you can look into them later as you go. But for now we are doing this. We aren't having everything on one screen itself, so we are pushing it to a new screen. So I'm getting some issue with the new screen not being pushed in when I restart this application. So I might have to restart it from scratch. So what we'll do now is we'll go back to our weather screen dot dart. This is the weather screen, and we'll define a constructor for it. Uh, which means like each time we'll call this weather screen, we'll have to give it some values. So I'll define a constructor for it. First, I'll create those local values, which would be one, we'll take in the city name, and two would be variable, which would be temperature. So inside my constructor, I'll tap like I'll need these values. So I'll just use this dot city name and this dot temperature. Now we'll see like there is this error on home page. That is, if we want to push in this new screen, we have to give it the temperature and city name values. So it takes in a dynamic city name and dynamic temperature. So I'll just give it the city name that we are getting from here and the temperature. This is like the temperature and the city name we are getting. Coming back to the weather screen itself, when this will be pushed in, we'll get those values. We'll try to show it on screen. Now there are a lot of things that you can do to check out like the UI designs to work with. What I like to do is I like to go over to Dribble. Dribble is one website for designers where they put up their designs. There is also a website called behance.com. You can go over to that as well. So I'll just go over to Dribble, DRIBBLE. And here you have all these designers put in their designs. So you can check out like whatever works for you. So if we were to quickly look up a weather app design, so I'll just search for weather. So it will have like all these different designs on screen. Like some of these are really good. We'll go for a simple design right now. We'll just like show up. This is like really fancy. You can do something like this in Flutter, as in this animation itself. But we'll just try to show the weather here and the city name and then this image. We can't do anything about the image for now, but you can later on import images and all to your Flutter application. So let's just try to do that simply. You can also use different fonts inside your Flutter application. So coming back, I'll get rid of this container. Instead, I'll use here a column. Columns you might remember from our yesterday's workshop. Columns allowed us to arrange widgets vertically. So this column will have two children. Both of these would be text for now. Let's just go with text. And we will use interpolation, string interpolation. So I'll use dollar and type in the city name. And underneath that, I'll type in text. Again, string interpolation, dollar, and this would be temperature. Yeah. So right now it's not putting onto a new screen. Let's try to wait why that is happening. But hopefully if it runs fine, we should get like the string name, city name and the city temperature on the new screen. Also like right now, since we are using like we are using a widget and we are just waiting for it to execute some function completely and then push to a new screen. So this is not the like the right way to do it actually. So you have to use you can use a future builder instead. So future builder, what it does is it will fetch or it will get this data and then it would build accordingly. So you can do that instead of using a widget to push to a new screen every time it's done executing. But right now I believe we are getting some error due to the root. We have defined this inside our future fetch data. I'll try to check it why it's happening inside my documentation once. So we have created a constructor to pass the UI data and city name we are getting, and this navigator dot push is having some error. Could it be due to permissions? So I have like uninstalled this because we didn't have any checks for permission as well. So it could have been due to some error in getting permission. So try to uninstall and reinstall it. And if it gets done successfully, we'll have the city name and temperature printed to weather screen. Other than that, oh, we are like almost done with it. The last part was using the city name. Uh, like you can modify the UI according to some design that you prefer, but we wouldn't go into the depth of that for now. But if you want to instead search a city to get data, it would be something similar, as in you just have to use a text field to enter the city name and then modify the URL. Instead of using latitudes and longitude, you can use the city name at the end of the API call. So call current data weather for several cities. You'll have to just put in your application ID and add the city name there. Okay. Okay, now it's working fine. As in, I believe the error was with permission itself. I'm giving it while using the app, so it's getting this error. But we have initially it waited on that to fetch the data, and now it's pushed on to this new weather screen, which takes in the city name. And also, what I can do is I'll make a new container with use media query to get the width of the screen. Sort of. Come down to my text widget, and there is this property that you can modify for all text widgets, which is called style. Give it a text style property and give it a font size. So you can increase the font size, font weight. You can make it bold and all using the text style property. Similarly, you can define it for temperature as well. Now, if I hot reload it. So yeah, with like similarly, you must now get your city name as well as the temperature, which is in Fahrenheit here on the screen. Uh, let's use like Yeah, so we can use the degree sign here itself. And yeah, that is about it. So you can modify the UI based on some of the designs that you would prefer. Like it would be same, like you have the data, only thing that you would have to do is change some of the containers or add some colors and all to it. So it's already 7, I believe. If you have any questions, you can ask me. And so I think we'll this would be it for this workshop.